special personality with us, and he is somebody who has built a broking firm from scratch. And this is definitely a story of efforts and dedication. So let's welcome none other than Tejas. So let's get started with some quick questions about yourself as well as how you have built this firm. So we'll also talk about your trading journey and what brings you to the markets as well as to the broking industry. To begin with, could you tell about how the name FYERS came?
Okay, so FYERS actually is an acronym. It stands for Focus Your Energy to Refine Yourself.
Okay.
So essentially it comes from our innate thought process that one has to focus to get better at anything. And so yeah, we got started. It sounded cool to us. So I thought it was a nice name, so we got started like that.
So you are kind of a really energetic person. Now, when it kind of comes to your markets, so you started your career as a trader. So what was that enthusiasm that got you into the scene?
I actually got started when I was in school. I was inquisitive about how the stock markets and the world worked in general in high school because I had taken up commerce. And when I went to do combined studies with a friend of mine in the neighborhood, her father was actually an investor, an active investor who invested all his life savings, retirement savings into the stock markets.
Okay.
So he actually got me started. I got started in the IPO boom of 2006 when infrastructure companies were going public.
Okay.
And so at the time the talk was all about India becoming a superpower.
Okay.
Right. And 2 years later the markets collapsed.
Okay.
And so when it collapsed, I actually became more inquisitive to find out how can something which everybody agreed about can suddenly go down in less than 2 years. So that eventually got me into trading, and one thing led to another.
Fine. So Tejas, something we have in common is that we have been working for a proprietary trading firm in the global markets. So back then, Indian markets were kind of too primitive in terms of technology. But now when you have a look at it, we have too many platforms kind of coming out with better technology out there. And the kind of exposure that traders used to get in the international markets and Indian markets were totally different. Right? So could you just explain your journey trading in the international markets and then building out for yourself a broking firm in the Indian markets? Could you just explain your journey?
Yeah. So I got started in the broking industry in 2010. And while I was there, I realized that there is a huge gap between what you could be exposed to as a trader, because the platform there was really very basic. In the sense, you could only do buy and sell orders, and you couldn't really analyze because you didn't have access to information as a trader, not all that much. So generally it used to be in like these different pockets across the internet. The real calling to me was to be a trader, so I moved on to become a prop trader.
Okay.
At the same firm.
Yeah.
But then after that, while I was there, again, I realized how much more can be done in India itself. And so that was the genesis of the idea. Maybe we can offer something technologically superior than what is currently being offered by the Indian brokerages. And so that's how I conceptualized the idea. Getting started.
Okay. So now, do you still track the international markets for yourself while considering correlation and things like that?
I do. Ironically, most traders don't. And they don't. I mean, when I speak to people with maybe less than 3 years of experience, they look at markets in isolation. Like Indian markets are moving because only of all reasons to do with the Indian markets. But in reality, it's moving for all sorts of other reasons globally. So we try as much. I of course do track the markets, but now we're also incorporating features in our platform to kind of make sure that they can also track it on a larger level.
Okay. So I see that in the new version of your app, you have added SGX,
Right.
S&P,
Exactly.
all those things, so that you don't have to look at some other platforms.
Yeah, but if you look at how a retail trader generally tracks
Okay.
these indices globally, that is tuned into news channels, right?
Correct.
And so that's not the best way to track it, because once you're tuned on the news channel, there are all sorts of other things you can get distracted by.
Okay.
So we showcase all of that, top index level information on the app right now.
Sure.
It's just easier to frame an opinion.
And now I think that with the new version, you have also added like screeners for tracking out top performing stocks,
Yep.
as well as to identify different patterns. So what was your agenda behind the scene?
So the previous app that we had was pretty good for order placement and trading.
Okay.
All the basic functionalities of a trading app was pretty much established in the previous version.
Okay.
Now, we saw this trend shifting from people using our web interface to the mobile. It used to be a web-centric trading platform.
Okay.
It used to be more than 3/4 of the trading volume used to come from the web. Right? So with the previous version, we saw that ratio kind of flip.
Got it.
So then we thought, if everybody is using the mobile app anyways to trade, then probably they will do their analysis on that as well. But the issue with doing your analysis on a mobile app is that it can get too cluttered, confusing, and ridden with all sorts of other distractions. To discover opportunities is the toughest part on it.
Correct.
So we tried to make that easier.
Okay.
So the first leg of efforts was to introduce candlestick screeners, for instance, because most traders are already attuned with candlesticks. So to identify patterns based on that when you're on the go is something that we thought will add value.
Yeah, true. So now though, if you have a look at the Indian traders, majority of them still trade from their phone until and unless like they get into book time trading or something that they sit in front of the screens. So yeah, even we personally have actually come across many people who kind of actually purely trade only on the phone and they really don't even know how to use a web app. So right, yeah. So there are many people like that. Yeah, definitely it gives it a different story. And let me ask you, as far as you are kind of concerned, how much importance do you give to price action?
Personally, I think price action is very important.
Okay.
But as a skill, it takes a lot of time to cultivate.
Yeah.
So when I was at the prop firm, so we were basically asked to sit in front of the screen and take a tape all day long, just watching prices and trying to become one with the price in a way and try to understand why it's happening. Not by reading news or finding out what the underlying reason is, but just by trying to identify patterns, price movements.
Got it. And now when we are speaking about news, okay, so what are the relevance that you give to the scene?
Well, it is relevant. See, in stock markets, as you know very well, price discounts the news before the news head comes up most of the time. Right? So the news is already in the price most of the time, unless there are some unexpected events, earnings, or difference, earning expectations, and so on. But yeah, it is very important, and generally it is not available on a mobile app. Right? So what we've done is we now showcase news of all stocks that are on your watch list. So we have watch list specific news now.
Okay.
To show you based on exchange filings. So this news will not be on your say or hashtag.
Fine.
But this is more.
So how are you aggregating this? Like, is that
so we're pretty good with where we source our information from. So yeah.
So that is like you really don't need to go for a third party Reuters or something like that. So whatever is there in your.
So the thing is, we've done whatever is relevant for a mobile, for somebody who's trading from the app.
Okay.
And we can overload it with tons of information. That's really not the issue. So the issue is, can they make use of it?
Okay.
And so from that standpoint, we've decided to give them news which can be useful for trading and for taking those decisions. More than anything.
Okay, so let's speak about the different kinds of trading styles out there. So you being a trader, this kind of mention about what you feel is a better approach. Is it discretionary kind of trading, or is it rule-based or systematic trading?
It can be both. It depends on. There's this huge misconception that systematic trading / algo trading will definitely give profits. It's farthest from the truth, because ultimately the biggest weakness of a trading system is the trader himself. So you can tweak the algo system enough number of times for it to fail. And there are a lot of things that go wrong with that. So of course, trading success of a trader depends on how he manages risk and whether he's able to follow the basic fundamental principles of trading. So how he executes that is up to him. I don't think that I should say this or that.
So as a beginner, so now when we speak from a beginner's perspective, so majority of the people, they come into the market, they buy Khoday and they just go. They beat the markets, they kind of probably take a break and then come back at a later point of time, understanding that they're failing. So from your perspective, being a broker as well as a trader, so what would be those common aspects that these people who are using in the markets is missing out?
So it's the sheer lack of risk management.
Okay.
And just to add another point to it, the systematic trading is that people think that risk will be managed when you remove risk will be managed better if you remove emotions out of the process of trading. Ironically, the best traders and the most profitable traders I know are discretionary guys. They're not allocated. So with that out of the way, I think the lack of risk management, the understanding of risk in derivatives, I think is the biggest pitfall.
So now when you speak about someone who's getting started in the markets, there are multiple segments out there. Equities we have the derivatives, derivatives itself, we have commodities, currencies, and stock futures, option purposes. So what would be your preferred plan of approaching or getting started with the different segments if you were to start from scratch?
If I was to start from scratch, I would start with currencies.
Okay.
Because the lot size, the contract size is very small. You get started with less than 2,000 rupees current account. And you can learn by losing less money. The lack of a better way to do it. That's the best way to kind of get started. Start small and then gradually scale up. Also, currency gives you a kind of a macro perspective of things. So I think it's an ideal starting point.
And the volatility is also usually less.
Volatility is lesser, and the contract is very small. Okay, and so it's the best way to get started, and you can really scale up and scale down very easily with currencies, unlike in say your
Okay. So now we have actually spoke a little bit about your trading side. So I'm just curious to know about how you invest. So what are the things that you're looking to before investing into any particular company?
So I prefer to be a concentrated investor. I don't think that buying 50 stocks in your account will do any justice because you don't have enough bandwidth to monitor any of that and get lost and confused. So I'd say less than 5 stocks in the portfolio.
Okay, 5 stocks in the portfolio.
Yeah. Okay. But to arrive at those 5 stocks or any number of stocks that an investor wants is the key to actually make good investment decisions.
Okay.
And there are a lot of people trying to educate on how to choose stocks. There are a lot of books written on that. But how many of the 10 crore demat account holders actually are going to do that? So we at FYERS actually sit back and think about things like this. We thought an easier way to help them make better investing decisions is to summarize a company's financials, strengths, weaknesses, etc. by a SWOT analysis tool. Okay. So that's one of the things we've done. So we've taken all the objective parameters that one can make sense of, and we've put it in the stock widget. And so that actually helps you to know if the stock is doing well or not at a glance in a few seconds, rather than you having to go through manual reports and various different websites.
So basically, you have actually added a SWOT analysis tool in the future.
Right.
That helps you understand the strengths, all these things.
So all of this, so the insights that one can derive from there are based on quantitative information. Okay. So it's not qualitative in the sense that it's not about the quality of the CEOs or the company. Essentially, it's about how the company has performed financially.
It's purely on numbers. And is this free of course to all the users, or how is it? Like, are you charging something on the purpose?
No, of course not.
So majority of the brokers out there, even good tech brokers, they tend to be free, have it value-added services separate those. So now, why do you look at it from a
See, from a value add perspective,
yeah.
we ought to do what we can to help them make reasonably better decisions.
Okay.
And so, if we can manage to do that, maybe in the longer term, investors will stay invested and they will believe in their investments too. I think what we have seen in the last few years is that a lot of people have invested based on other people's recommendations.
Correct.
And they have no time or patience to vet their recommendations. So this is the best way to do it.
And now, when we speak about the corona time, like there were a huge inflow of people into the markets. But now, if you have a look at it, I think the number of people getting onboarded to the market has been reduced up to a good extent. So, to the people who have already started in the past, so as you mentioned, like the major challenge they probably would be facing is the lack of time or maybe the lack of ability to vet their previous investment decisions.
Yeah.
So, do you think this would be a game changer when they can all do it by themselves?
We didn't look at it like that.
Okay.
I don't know whether it would be a game changer or not. But we definitely think it will add value.
Okay.
Like for those who don't have enough financial literacy, who don't have the time and patience to go through all this stuff, it will still help them make sensible investment decisions and avoid pitfalls. Like for example, there are many startups that went public with doing business with operating margins like minus 100%. But a lot of them bought into those IPOs.
Yes.
Not knowing that all these pieces of information. And if they had known it upfront, they would have probably avoided it because investors are not stupid to begin with. And they just kind of, because of the fear of missing out, they want to jump in on the bandwagon.
And in fact, like I have a person that adds on top of this. As you said, during the corona time, like we had almost every single YouTuber being a financial expert. And there's a lot of problems also that has actually arisen over that. Many people ended up wiping out their capital, losing their hard earned. So in a recent event on YouTube, Twitter, I came across a particular video where you were saying that you guys are coming on to this verified P&L functionality. Yeah. So how do you look at it? So why do you think this kind of products are really very relevant in the markets at this point in time? Because we have a lot of fake unrealistic expectations that is being spread out.
Absolutely. Number one, a lot of people have been asking for it.
Okay.
Does it make sense for them to ask for it? Of course. Because if fake screenshots are flying around, people are developing unrealistic expectations. As it is to begin with, there are unrealistic expectations in the capital markets. Right? Everybody is thinking 10% per week, but it could help set proper expectations because those who are claiming all of these things may not be able to pull it off in real. And so the traders are actually becoming more educated overall. Their wellness levels are rising. So now they want to follow people who can actually back it up with performance rather than just claim stuff. So from that, I think it will be fun to see what happens.
Exactly.
It's too early to say.
That is too right. So now one thing that we have personally experienced from our experience interacting with clients is that, see the smart ones, right? They think about, okay, this verified P&L, asking for the ledger reports, asking for the P&L statement for the last 3 years, all these things. However, the people who usually fall into the trap are the people who go after the get-rich-quick schemes. And so for them, even the verified P&L or some sort of a functionality like that, they probably won't be aware about the same. Because they would be just running behind the big MTM screenshots and that quick.
Yeah, it will take time. We can't solve all problems on day one.
Okay.
But maybe the word will go around. See, ultimately, if I'm a fund manager,
okay,
and you as an investor will ask me what my track record has been, right?
Yeah.
But why doesn't that apply to those with 100,000 followers on YouTube?
Correct.
It should.
Yeah.
Because people are indeed following them. You know, and it's jeopardizing their finances.
Okay.
So there should be at least a way to verify it publicly. So we thought, this is useful to do. So we went around. We're going to do this. This is going to come out in the next few weeks.
And you probably would be the first broker to do the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like that is something that is the need of the hour, because majority of the people lose money because of two unrealistic expectations. And if we have something like this coming out, then all the people who are kind of actually projecting fake things, I feel it could be an elimination for the same. Once again, paving grounds for people who are doing some genuine work.
Yeah,
So
I think it will happen over a period of time.
So Tejas, you are somebody who many budding entrepreneurs out there look up to, including myself. So could you actually just speak about how you started off with the company? So now I guess you are a team of 300 plus.
Right.
So managing a team of 300 plus is not at all an easy task, correct? So could you explain a little bit about the same?
So we had very unconventional beginnings.
Okay.
We didn't have much capital to start the entity. In fact, when we started, our NSE required a net worth of 1 crore rupees, and we didn't have that much money actually. So we had to do a lot of circus to arrange for that.
Okay.
We didn't have a place to rent out. So the way we got started was actually very unconventional.
Okay.
So I failed to raise funds from VCs. But still, we decided to continue anyways. So usually, friends of mine as well who started up, when they fail to raise funds, they shut down the company. So in our case, we decided to give it a shot anyways. And instead of then looking at the entire Indian population as the target market, we narrowed down our target audience to maybe 10,000 people. And then we thought maybe we'll do business with them. And so that gave us some leeway because we didn't have to do a lot of marketing. We got started like that and we built the company ground up. So hiring has never stopped in FYERS to this day.
Okay.
There's never been a season or a quarter where we've said we're going to stop hiring.
Got it.
So we started off with interns. So the first 20 people in FYERS have all been interns.
Okay.
And now they're all running large teams over here. In that sense, it has been very unconventional, and we've constantly redeployed profits. And since because we did that, it gave us the firepower to continue to innovate, sustain. For a long time, we were not profitable, right? So I had to do more unconventional things like take a loan and stuff.
Okay.
Which is kind of unheard of in the startup world.
So being a bootstrap company, so you have actually put your everything into it.
Yeah. So I actually went all in.
So what could be the highest risk that you have taken for yourself, if I ask you, if you don't mind?
We risked our entire net worth, all
Okay.
our life savings, everything just went all in.
So what was that you had in your mind when you were taking such a risky decision?
We were good at it.
Okay.
We had a fair understanding of what traders want because me being a trader in various capacities, I kind of knew that we were in the right direction in terms of our offerings
Okay.
and in terms of what we were going to do. And so we didn't have any, when we were having this conversation internally, we rather do this and fail than back out.
Okay.
So that was the thing. Because anyways, if we fail, we go back and maybe find a job or something.
Got it. And let me ask you this question. So when we run a business, it's all about overcoming obstacles, right? So if you don't mind, if you could mention about some obstacles you face in your life and how you overcome the same, it is definitely going to be a motivation for all the people out there who are facing something similar.
Well, of course, just like everybody else, I've faced many obstacles, both in the duration of running the startup. Because I think I've seen the maximum challenges in FYERS. Because number one, there's no capital. Number two, there is no mentor.
Okay.
Right? So we never grew up with mentors and such.
Okay.
No godfathers to back us up and such. I think having obstacles is actually good because it helps you to become realistic about the consequences of failure.
Correct.
Not having a backup makes you more sharp and more competitive. And I think having obstacles has enabled that. And so the way to circumvent or overcome obstacles is just to grind it through. That's it. Yeah. And also having a very strong team with you helps. So we've been very fortunate to have smart capital market enthusiasts.
Okay.
So when like I said, right, we built the company with interns. But the commonality between all of us was that they all were passionate about capital funds.
Got it.
They were either ex-traders or they are currently trading, so they understand what needs to be done, and so we knew how to wiggle our way through.
Got it. As in, like, they never consider this to be their work. They consider this to be their
Of
passion.
course, they wouldn't be in the office at midnight if they thought it would be work.
Right. Now, being a bootstrap company out there, do you feel it would have been better if you had funds when you started off? These days, we have a lot of hype regarding like VC funding, valuations, all those stuff out there. What do you feel for yourself?
In hindsight, it's good that we know, but at the time we didn't think we would be able to cross the bridge.
Okay.
And so I scouted for funds a lot. There came a point when I was like, okay, we'll do it. But in the last moment, we thought, well, we've already taken so many chances. So why not just wait it out for another year and see? And that year turned out to be the turning point for us.
Okay.
So now in hindsight, I think it's good that we are independent and free and we can do whatever we want. But yeah, back then, we needed that.
And what are your future plans? Are you looking out to kind of undergo an IPO?
I get this question a lot. I think we would tap the markets, through a public issue. The day we require funds, we don't require. I mean, we are fairly well capitalized in the business that we are in right now. So, not that I can think of, not in the foreseeable future.
So now speaking about your business, now with the new rules, all these compliance activities coming in by SEBI, how do you look at it? So the new margin requirements, everything.
Yeah. So the business is becoming capital intensive.
Okay.
Right. So it always has been compliance intensive from the time we got started. So we are in a reforming era in the stockbroking industry, and I think it's happening for the good reasons, because investors now are much better protected than they used to be. Kudos to SEBI actually. Not too many people appreciate the regulator, but I'm actually one of the biggest cheerleaders, I would like to think, because the things that they have done are good for India as a country and for capital allocation as well. Because otherwise, we are not going to get the confidence to move money from real estate to financial securities. It's just not going to happen with the kind of regulations that we had before. Too many loopholes, right? And so now the scope for misappropriating funds, committing frauds, all of that is minimized. And so I think that's great.
Are you capable of seeing the transition, right? That is like when we have a look at pre-corona and post-corona, the inflow has been huge.
Yes.
So do you actually witness that kind of a huge variation with people kind of capable of allocating the money that they had initially planned out to put in an FD into the capital markets? How do you look at it?
I think it's a decade-long journey, where confidence is not built overnight. People need to get comfortable with it. They'll invest their first 1 lakh rupees and see how that does. And then as their earnings continue to grow, then they will reallocate more towards. Basically, it'll happen over a period of time, and that has already begun. The financialization of savings, we call it, started, and I think that is only going to grow and grow.
So if you have a look at your demographics, how do you analyze? So majority of the capital is coming still from the tier 1 cities?
No, it's coming from tier 2 as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So since the awareness about trading is so little, we tend to get a lot of users from the metropolitan cities, the larger cities. But gradually we have also seen from tier 2 cities. Yeah, even from places like Bihar, smaller cities in Uttar Pradesh, in Maharashtra, in Andhra Pradesh and such. So that even we were surprised. We haven't optimized to gather that audience actually, but we were surprised when this is happening.
So now I just got to know that you are also providing facility for NRI clients out there, which majority of the brokers don't do.
Yeah.
So what was your focus point when you got started with the NRI test?
So NRIs are a neglected audience. Why are they neglected? Because it's super difficult to open their account.
Okay.
Right. That's like the biggest bottleneck, and it's very difficult to overcome. Why? Because they live abroad, and the KYC has to be physical, and so there's no way around it at the moment, at least. analyzed. So how many capital market participants brokers actually will go out, take the effort to do that? So we see that as an untapped audience, and so we have taken up their requirements very seriously. So I have a few NRI friends, okay, and so they keep asking me the same question all the time. Some of their friends want to invest, but how do they do it? Because they aren't able to do it through the channels that currently exist. So now what we have done is we've taken that their requirements very seriously, okay, and so we also not just offer them an option to invest in the markets, but also to trade. Right? Not a lot of NRIs know that you can trade futures and options.
Exactly. So this is a very valid point out there. So just keep this in your mind. Even if you're an NRI, you can still continue to trade in the F&O markets out there.
Yeah, you can. So that's done using the NRO non-PIS route. So we are among the only few providers out there correct do that. Why? Because they do want to actively trade as well. So yeah, we've enabled that, and it's fairly seamless at this point, and we're seeing the growing interest.
With the new version of the app rolling out here, we see that there's a lot of advancement. I really appreciate the fact that you're bringing in all the functionality that we earlier had only in the international markets, in the Indian markets. And majority of these tools, even though if it is available in Indian markets, it is all paid.
Yeah.
So how do you look down the years? How are you going to make trading more easier and accessible to the public?
We're going to provide more data.
Okay.
We're going to help people use this data to make more informed decisions.
Okay.
We're also going to work on improving our order executions. By the way, this recent update that you see on the app, the new app, what's less spoken of is the backend upgrade actually.
Okay.
So we can handle 20x the volume, and we can also process orders in 1/10 of the speed that we used.
Okay.
So we're optimizing essentially. We don't have these grand plans as such. We believe in iterative improvements, and over a period of time, you'll get to see that the platform will improve substantially.
So you're basically optimizing for scale.
Yeah, it is often overlooked.
And we are just at 3%.
See, the thing is, marketing bells and whistles will bring a lot of eyeballs and attention towards a company's offerings. But will that really help the user? I don't know. So we are focused on a lot of things that are not cool and attractive as well, not just to provide features on the front end.
So in fact, the order flow tool that you had, which was really similar to trading terminal, right? TT.
Yeah.
So I am really curious to know, in terms of order flow, up to what extent will you guys be looking out to provide?
So we can offer more than the best 5-minute offers.
Okay.
We can even go beyond 20.
Okay.
Which currently a few platforms maybe offer. We can actually go far beyond that. But the issue is, will users find it useful? Will traders actually want it? If there is a demand for it, then we can go out and deliver that as well.
You're totally right on that part, because during the corona time, people just got started with intraday trading. All they knew was like long, and then later on they realized that there is something called short position.
Right.
And then gradually people got started into F&O derivatives, and I feel it is actually at one point of maturity that one starts looking at one-click trades, looking at the order.
Yeah. So the issue with one-click trades is that, as per the regulatory requirements, you need to confirm the order, which is the reason we ask them to hit the submit button.
Got it. Yeah. Because you have the secondary confirm button as per the regulatory.
Right. Otherwise, it's very easy for us to just enable one-click trade by default.
And how do you look at algo trading? So we see a lot of algos, retail algos coming up.
It's gotten more media attention than it deserves, I think, because it is not as large in terms of the adoption than it is deemed to be right now. So with us, it is still in the lower single-digit percentages. So it's still in its nascent stages, and it's going to take a long time for people to even figure out how to automate their trades. Because there's just a few people doing it, and suddenly there's this, everybody's talking about it, and it might stifle innovation, in my opinion.
And I personally felt you were one of the brokers out there who were providing free open APIs for algo trading.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you that question. Because when everybody else is charging, you're still offering it for free.
So we started in 2019. We thought it was an easy way to democratize algo trading. The reason I say democratize is not because it's a buzzword, because retail traders' capital is not very high. Right? So if you're going to charge them thousands of rupees per month, it's going to eat into their capital. So the only way perhaps for them to get better at it would be to give them lower cost access. In our case, it was free. So then they will at least come forward to see, check it out and experiment.
Got it. So basically, I'm actually just given that groundwork where everyone could actually just enter without any entry barrier.
Exactly.
However,
Exactly.
small their capital.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Now, the last question to you is: we have a lot of viewers out there who are both traders as well as people who are looking forward to get started with their business.
Yeah.
So, could you just give some guidelines that you have probably followed to get started with your business or your trading career?
The best way to kind of get better, in my view, is to have a survival, to focus on survival rather than to win. Because if you focus on survival, you're trying to avoid disasters. And if you avoid disasters, you live to see the next day. So, a scientist once said that extinction is the rule and survival is actually the exception. So, you should fight to be the exception.
Okay, so in terms of the markets or in terms of business, it's all about survival. So, if you want to survive, definitely in the long term, you could. Right. So, that's a very brilliantly put up answer. So, you're speaking about risk reward in this case. So, any last thoughts that you want to share with the viewers out there?
Even if you suck at identifying trading opportunities, but if you're decent at managing risk, you will be in profits.
Right. It's a game of probability at the end of it. So, thanks a lot, Tejas. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.
Having you over here.
Yeah.